I was struck by what Larry Fink said this morning on CNBC. This is the head of BlackRock. The U.S. post-World War II was a global stabilizer. We are now a global destabilizer. Yes, I do believe we're probably starting, if not already, in a recession. This is not a pandemic. This is not a financial crisis. This is something we've created. And that's the trend line here, that smart people who create jobs, who are really rich, who have done well, who Donald Trump respects, know that what he is doing is about his own fantasies and not about the realities of the economics here. The dollar is weakening. People are dumping U.S. assets. They don't think that we're a good bet. And the American public, the lower classes that Scott Bessent is so concerned with, are losing their minds. Consumer sentiment dropped to its second lowest level since 1952 when they started recording this.
Oh boy, where do we even begin? There are just too many scandals, too many mess-ups, and a never-ending parade of embarrassing decisions rolling out of the Trump administration. It's honestly a full-time job just trying to keep track. But you know what? They don't even need help embarrassing themselves. They do a perfectly fine job of that on their own. And nothing makes that clearer than Trump's obsession with tariffs. A plan so outrageously flawed that even the Wall Street Journal had to step in and call it, get this, the stupidest trade war in history. And of course, Trump's proving that label right over and over and over again. But if you think it couldn't get worse, oh, it does. Because then Caroline Leavitt, in the most spectacularly clueless fashion, decides to back her boss up and ends up completely humiliating him in a dumpster fire interview we're about to dive into. You won't want to miss that. But hey, before we spill the tea on Caroline's mess, can I ask a quick favor? Tap that like button, and if you haven't already, smash that subscribe. It seriously helps the channel and keeps this train rolling. Alright, back to the drama. Before we get into what Caroline actually said in this public meltdown, we need to roll the tape on her boss, yes, Trump, rambling through one of his infamous off-the-cuff takes. Until they make a deal with us, that's what it's going to be. I think they'll make a deal. China will. They want to. They really do. They just don't know how to start. Proud people. China will now pay a big number to our treasury. This is all taxes. Don't let them say it's a tax on our people. I hate that. No, much of it is paid. Whew, that's not leadership, that's delusion. He clearly has no clue what he's talking about. And honestly, I hate to say it, but watching him get rattled when someone drops the truth on him, it's kind of satisfying. It rattles him to his core. He keeps insisting these tariffs aren't a tax, but let's be real, they are. And here's what's even wilder. The GOP, usually the masters of sticking to a clean, coordinated lie, can't even keep their story straight this time. Trump's calling tariffs an attack, while in the same breath admitting they'll hurt Americans. Make it make sense. And when it comes to China, the biggest player in this whole saga, the Trump team doesn't even pretend to have a plan. No strategy, no consistency, just chaos. Now, before we get to Caroline Leavitt's eyebrow-raising interview, let's talk about Jessica Tarlov, who, shockingly, actually had a prediction that hit a little too close to home.
Leverage to take on Donald Trump?
Isn't the art of the deal that's just an opening gambit, right?
Okay.
We'll ease our way into that.
Yeah.
I think that China knows that there are tens of millions of Americans that own small businesses that rely on goods from China that are going to be completely bankrupted by these tariffs. And that's really what this is about. They can say what they want about Hollywood, but that's what it's going to come down to, that people need to be able to go, to Walmart and get the things that they want. And that's what the CEO of Walmart is saying. That's what people like Ken Langone is saying, calling what Trump's doing BS. This is someone who's a strong supporter of his. Ken Griffin as well. I was struck by what Larry Fink said this morning on CNBC. This is the head of BlackRock. The U.S. post-World War II was a global stabilizer. We are now a global destabilizer. Yes, I do believe we're probably starting, if not already, in a recession. This is not a pandemic. This is not a financial crisis. This is something we've created. And that's the trend line here, that smart people who create jobs, who are really rich, who have done well, who Donald Trump respects, know that what he is doing is about his own fantasies and not about the realities of the economics here. The dollar is weakening. People are dumping U.S. assets. They don't think that we're a good bet. And the American public, the lower classes that Scott Bessent is so concerned with, are losing their minds. Consumer sentiment dropped to its second lowest level since 1952 when they started recording this. Do you think that's a good thing, that the American public who need to be able to get up and go to the grocery store and get that flat screen TV,
Right,
if that's what they want?
Do you think the last 40 years of trade have been good?
Yeah, they have been good.
For the middle class. Have it been good for the middle class, Jessica?
If you're talking specifically about protectionist policies,
I'm talking about jobs
auto
and factories and honor in the Rust Belt and across the country.
What's more
where people
important
got hammered by cheap
Jesse,
Chinese
why
goods
are there
and taken
tens
advantage
of thousands of manufacturing jobs available? Because people don't want them. That's what folks who are smart about this are saying. We can't have a manufacturing economy. We don't have the workers for it. We don't have the interest in it.
She's talking about a different type of manufacturing. We're not talking about T-shirts. We're talking about aerospace. We're talking about steel. We're talking about automobiles. We're talking about robotics and AI. Those are the types of high-tech jobs.
Let's be honest. No American, not even the most hardcore Trump fan, is signing up for short-term pain just because Trump says it's part of some genius plan. That's a fantasy. People are struggling now. Prices are climbing. Tempers are flaring. And guess what? China isn't blinking. They're not phased. But everyone else? Oh, they're feeling it. Even Fox News, yes, Fox, couldn't ignore the mess. They straight up pressed Caroline Leavitt on the chaos. And her answer? Yikes, not her finest moment.
That is the party that they now represent. That's fine if that's where they want to be. Do we have an update? I know that there was discussions today regarding trade and tariffs with Japan. I expect that probably a lot of countries are going to be signing deals in the days and weeks ahead. Can you update us?
I don't have an update for you. I actually just left a dinner with the president and Patty Morin and some great faith leaders in celebration of Holy Week. So I haven't checked in with our Secretary of Treasury or Jamieson Greer, our United States Trade Ambassador, yet. However, I did run into the Secretary of Treasury and he told me the meetings were productive and they were moving along and they were here for quite some time. And the president met directly with one of the trade representatives from Japan because the president wants to be involved in these negotiations and these talks. And I think it speaks volumes about the number of countries we have seen come to the table, reaching out to this administration to cut deals. It's because the entire world knows they need to do business with the United States of America. And China knows that too, Sean. And as President Trump directed me to say yesterday, it remains true tonight. The ball is in China's court. They need to do business with the United States. They need the best thing on the face of the planet, and that is the American consumer. And we are the best place in the world to do business. And the rest of the world knows that, and that's why Japan was here today to negotiate a trade deal.
You can see how flustered she is. Worried, panicked, maybe even starting to realize that her boss once again wrote a check he can't cash. And now, we're the ones footing the bill, thanks to his tariffs. China's not calling, and they're not going to. They hold the leverage. This so-called art of the deal guy has yet to seal a deal he can point to as a clear success. He doesn't know what he's doing. I honestly don't know where he thinks the leverage is or why he expects China to play along. Just because they keep saying the ball is in China's court doesn't mean China's planning to return it. China made the ball. It's literally theirs. They don't need to play. And if we tried to import it back, there'd be a 145% tariff slapped on it. So who's even buying that? Maybe I've taken the analogy too far, but honestly, it fits. Anyway, let's shift to someone who isn't rambling incoherently. Someone who's still shocked, disturbed, and confused by how we managed to elect the dumbest man in America again. That brings us to Andy Beshear, who, like Gavin Newsom, who recently launched a lawsuit against Trump's tariffs, is stepping up and fighting back.
Is the Trump tax on the American people. The amount your groceries cost more because of these tariffs is the Trump tax. The amount a new home costs more because of these tariffs is the Trump tax. The amount that gasoline may go up, or the amount that you pay extra in the upcoming holiday seasons, that is the Trump tax. How much harder it is to pay those bills at the end of the month is the Trump tax. And it's hitting everybody. It hits farmers. It hits factory workers. It hits everybody who's trying to go to work a hard day, and support their family. It's bad policy. And again, you don't have to take my word for it. In my state, our two Republican senators, Mitch McConnell and Rand Paul, and this Democratic governor all agree that tariffs are a bad idea. Why? Because Trump's tariffs are a really bad idea.
That's strange bedfellows in politics, as they call it, Governor. Let me ask you about late Friday night, Trump signed an executive order exempting cell phones, computers, semiconductor chips, and other electronics from these reciprocal tariffs. But then this morning, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said this is not like a permanent sort of exemption. I'm not asking you to explain that. I don't know what he means by that. But what do you make of people watching right now, people in your state, what should they make of these exemptions and where it sort of sits right now? Because that felt like a relief, but I'm not sure that it really is.
Well, the question is, are we dealing with incompetence or corruption? Because you look at the incompetent side, and they've changed their mind 10, 12, 13 times, and look at what the chaos is doing. It is tanking our economy. When the president came into office, our economy was experiencing growth, and it hadn't caught up to people yet, but it was going to. Wages were going up, unemployment was low, and we're seeing all of that turn around, as well as the stock market and people's 401ks taking a really rough hit. That's the incompetence side. These specific exemptions or exceptions, which tend to favor the president's biggest donors, if those are put into place, then we're looking at something much closer to corruption. Either are bad, neither should be happening, and the best move this administration could take is to scrap the whole plan.
Let me ask you, I think that's an important thing to note. A lot of the people who are benefiting from these are CEOs of tech companies who have been huge donors, and suddenly they're getting exempted. Go figure. Let me ask you about Medicaid. This is an issue I think we all have to be paying a lot of attention to. As I understand it, you correct me on the statistics, but as I understand from what I've read, about 28% of people in Kentucky rely on Medicaid, or approximately that. It's really important to your state, so many states. In the Republican budget in the House that they passed, there could be massive cuts to Medicaid, even though they seem to be denying that. What are you preparing for? And if that is part of the package, what impact could that have on the people of your state?
It'll be devastating. Medicaid covers the people we love the most, our parents and our kids. Half of Kentucky's kids are covered by Medicaid. 70% of our long-term care costs are covered by Medicaid. All of our rural hospital systems exist because of Medicaid and expanded Medicaid. Without those dollars, with a massive cut, what we will see is rural health care shut down almost entirely. And then whether you're on Medicaid or private insurance, you're going to have to drive a couple of hours to a big city, probably to see the same doctor who used to live in your community. And what it'll do to all those communities that the president says he's trying to bring jobs back to, that'll be devastating too, because in most of these communities, the largest employer is the public school, and the second largest is the hospital system. What this will do is make our people unhealthier. It will result in devastating jobs losses. The price of health care will go up. I mean, this is something that the American people will see, will feel, and will respond to. And whether it's the tariffs that will make life more difficult, or significant cuts to Medicaid, it's going to leave a lot of people who end up voting for.
We seriously need more Democratic governors, plain and simple, because right now, voices like Andy Beshear's, coming straight out of a deep red state, are exposing what it really feels like to have, let's not sugarcoat it, the most clueless man in America crashing the economy like it's his personal demolition derby. Just think about this. What if, in a day or two, Trump wakes up and suddenly says, you know what, no more tariffs. Just like that, it's over. So what then? What exactly did we get out of it? Spoiler alert, absolutely nothing. No deal, no wins, just a trashed stock market, prices skyrocketing, and people struggling to make ends meet. Also, one man could puff up his ego and pretend he's a tough guy at the negotiating table. And guess what? It's not a game. People are hurting, businesses are folding, families are drowning in higher costs, and there's still no exit plan. So yeah, we're not gonna stay quiet about it. If you're fed up too, then do your part. Smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and if you've made it this far, drop a blue heart emoji in the comments to let me know you're not just watching, you're with us. Until next time,